Good day, folks, and welcome to another edition of Inside Santa Fe Public Schools podcast. I am Joe Abeta, and today our guest is Sara Keller, the Chief Community Engagement Officer from Nusenda Credit Union. How you doing today, Sara?
I'm good, Joe. How are you?
I'm doing good. Enjoying the summer. You know, it kind of like, you know, it's different gear here at Santa Fe Public Schools during the summertime. Still busy, but a different kind of busy.
Yeah, totally. And get a little bit of rest, hopefully, and then like the amp up for the school year.
Yeah. No, exactly. And getting ready for the school year and thinking about how we can do things better and different things that we can implement, that type of thing. So it's a great time of year. So Sara, I wanted to talk to you about there's a lot of things that Nusenda is doing in the community here in northern New Mexico and in Santa Fe and in other places of the state. But we'll talk about Santa Fe today and northern New Mexico. The big thing that's coming up is our on July 31st is the back to school supply giveaway that Nusenda is the title sponsor on, right?
That's right.
Why is it important for Nusenda to participate in events like this?
Well, you know, we believe that in order to be ready to learn and engaged in school, you kind of have to eliminate as many barriers as possible so that when you have a kid sitting in a classroom, they're ready to learn. And a big piece of that is school supplies and food and literacy and all of the other things that kind of go into that. But the school supply drive at Santa Fe Public Schools is one way that we can help ensure that every single kid and every single classroom has what they need to be as successful and productive as they possibly can be when school starts back up.
And really cool thing about it is you guys aren't just writing a check. You're out there actually handing out supplies. You have a whole team of folks out there, which I think is pretty awesome.
Oh, yeah. It's one of the things that our team loves to do the most is to get out and actually volunteer with the programs that we're supporting. So our entire business development team and a bunch of our branch staff from our 3 branches here in northern New Mexico or Santa Fe will all be out handing out school supplies. They're stuffing backpacks. They're ready. It's something they really look forward to.
Yeah, no, it's a great event. Last year, I don't know how many backpacks and supplies we handed out. It was a lot, though. Very, we needed all the help we got. You guys got out there, and with our staff and everything, and we served a lot of folks out there, and I think it's really cool. And the joy also that you see in the kids when they get a brand new backpack and stuff, I think is really cool.
Totally. I remember as a kid going and looking at, new backpacks or picking out my notebook and wanting to make sure you have like the right color and the right pens and, all that other good stuff. And so if you can provide some of that, it's a really fun way to get ready for the school year, and it's fun.
Yeah, no, it's great. It is great. I know that you guys, other than that, that's not just the one where you guys just kind of pop up during the back to school times and then we don't see you guys again. I know that there's a lot of other things you guys are doing. Talk about some of the different ways that you're supporting the community and the communities that you guys are in, right? It's not just Santa Fe. It's everywhere around the state, correct?
That's right. We are as far north as Taos, and we go all the way down the Rio Grande, all the way into Deming and Las Cruces, and now West Texas and El Paso.
Oh, wow.
But we've been here in Santa Fe since 2009, and Santa Fe Public Schools is one of the organizations that we have partnered with since the very beginning. So whether it's supporting new student orientation and back to school days and new hiring events for Santa Fe Public School teachers, appreciation events. Our roots are in education. We started through Albuquerque Public Schools, but we were New Mexico educators for a really long time. Almost everything that we do has a through line of education in the mix. And so being able to do that with Santa Fe Public Schools and others has been really valuable. A few years ago, during the pandemic, when things were shifting for the district in particular around like what graduation would look like and how we celebrate students and this major accomplishment, one of the things the credit union did was we were like, well, how can we partner with Santa Fe Public Schools to celebrate their graduating seniors? And you all had these really cool yard sign displays, and they were all over, and we helped support that so that, we weren't doing traditional graduations, but we were trying to make sure that every kid who was graduating during that time got the love and care that they deserve.
For your team to be thinking about this, especially during the pandemic, when I know that, there was the actual shock that we all got, right? As earthlings, and then when we got things the dust kind of settled on it, then we needed to figure out, well, we have some problems that we need to solve, and think about the smaller things, like the well-being of kids, like the graduations, like the things that we take for granted in a sense, that just kind of happen automatically, and we need to rethink that, right? And it was great to be able to have folks, partners that you're able to bounce ideas off of. They're able to, come to you with some ideas and then make something work. And I felt like that was huge during the pandemic with folks. Like, you really saw who was going to be there for you during those times, right? Because all of us were struggling. There was different. It was just, we had to problem solve together, and it was really, you remember that, right? And so graduations, we wanted to make it special for that's the seniors that were graduating that year. How are we going to make this work for them? Are we going to do a drive, like a drive-through where we hand them their diploma? That's how we ended up doing it. We streamed it. We had those things of congratulating them, saying, hey, we hear you, we see you, we know you've accomplished this, and we know that you kind of had to take a huge detour now of what you were expecting when you started as a freshman in high school, right? Mm-hmm. So anyway, I'm sorry, I went on a little rant there, but you brought that up, and it's so great, that we did something like that to make them feel special.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, I think like when we think about how Nusenda wants to approach how we're showing up in the communities where we live and where our branches are, it's thinking about all of those pieces. It's not just, funding a program and walking away. It's thinking about, how do we send volunteers? How do we support in a different way? How are we thinking about whole people, whole families, whole communities, and funding and supporting programs that really are providing that wraparound support? So whether it's doing things with communities and schools and making sure that early childhood educators have the tools and resources that they need so that by the time kids are ready to come to Santa Fe Public Schools, they have all the support systems in place. They have that strong foundation. To what are we doing with like the food depot to make sure that folks who are food insecure have access to affordable or free food, healthy food, so that they can feed their families. How are we then incorporating some of what folks are getting at the basic need levels to organizations like Kids Cook? And how are we bringing in sort of local produce and local agriculture and real tangible skills and systems so that in the classroom we're learning about what a healthy meal looks like. And then we're taking that home and talking to our parents about it, talking to our families about it, and really thinking about like, how are we making investments that aren't just supporting somebody right in this moment, but hopefully setting them up for success for a lifetime.
Yes, and that's a great segue there, because we're going to talk about some of the financial tools you guys offer on your website, right, that are free for folks, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are those tools that you guys have?
So we have a whole bunch of stuff on our website, but I'm going to talk about 3 things that I think are probably really helpful for folks that people may not really know about. The first is a program called My First Nest Egg. And it is an app, and Nusenda supports it, and it is really designed for like early childhood, early elementary to like gamify things like chores and going to bed on time and brushing your teeth and doing those things in a way that
showing up to school,
doing those things in a way that helps families talk about the value of a dollar in like real world experiences and makes it really sort of fun and engaging, so that if parents and adults are trying to set a foundation for financial well-being with the young people in their lives, they have a tool to kind of do that. Most of us don't go to school with a playbook that's like, this is how you talk about money. And most of us don't talk about money at the kitchen table. We're not, it's not something that culturally we're doing a whole lot of. And so having a tool that parents or adults can use to be like, this is how we can talk about what we're doing and why we're saving for groceries or why we have to pay for the things that we have in our lives, and do it in a way that like meets somebody where they are. So we have My First Nest Egg, which is a really great resource for parents. We have a program or a tool called Cashy, which I would encourage any of your Santa Fe public schools to invite us, teachers to invite us out to do Cashy with a classroom. So it is a very fun, like game of life style, interactive activity that's done online, on your phone, on your computer, that gives you like in 3 to 5 minute spurts a whole year of life. So like you have 5 minutes to make a bunch of decisions about, your car, or your house, or your groceries, or a business that you're investing in, or what kind of education you're pursuing. And then at the end of the round, it gives you a happiness score and it gives you a money score. And the goal is to have the best happiness and the best budget
balance,
score.
right?
A balance.
Gotcha.
You can't just be making decisions that are only, the most frugal, right? But you have to also be thinking about your happiness. But you can't only be doing the things that we want, right? It's really trying to balance that wants and needs mindset.
Yeah.
And then the other program that we have, which is great for that middle high school, college-aged kiddos, is bonsai.
Okay.
And honestly, I think that's really good for adults too. It is everything from 3-minute coaching sessions to budget calculators to deep dive articles and games around almost every financial well-being topic you could really think of. So everything from I'm thinking about buying my first car to I right now have an 8-year-old and I'm already trying to think about what do I do to save for college for her in 10 years? There's tools on Bonsai that help you kind of map out what should you do when your kid is in elementary school so that they can be ready for what happens when they turn 18 to, I'm thinking about starting a business or I am thinking about retiring. It's sort of the whole gamut of tools and resources. And it is designed in a way that again, meets people where they are. It's not, you don't have to put a bunch of your own personal information into it. You don't have to know a lot of the answers. You don't have to have a ton of time. It's this is a place to start. So then when you walk into maybe a Nusenda branch, you have done some work and you kind of know these are the questions I have for my financial consultant. This is what I'm trying to do. How can you help me prepare for that? So it's a really cool resource that we have available.
I think it's great that you guys have incorporated these apps. And what was the philosophy on adding these financial tools onto your website?
Well, I think the biggest underlying thing is that financial well-being should be accessible for all people.
Okay.
And we know that not all people are ready to walk into a branch and ask all the questions. Not all folks have the tools or the resources or the group behind them to be able to have a candid conversation about it. And that often in our world, especially today, the first place we go is the internet. We are Googling the questions that we have, or we're putting them into a chat GPT or something else. And we wanted to make sure that our members and our communities at large had vetted, trusted resources that they could count on to get the answers for the questions that they have that were available on our website. So whether you're a member at Nusenda or you're just a person who's trying to figure out what's the next step for them financially, those tools are available for everyone. And I think that at the bottom line is really financial well-being and access to financial well-being and economic mobility is something that should be afforded to everyone. And if we can make those things easily accessible, we're doing our part by taking care of our communities.
Yeah, and that's great. You think about it first of all, a generation like myself, Gen X, we didn't grow up with the internet, right? We didn't grow up with that information. We grew up based on really about the experiences that our parents had before, and then our parents had that from their parents before. And it may not be so correct. There may be a little bit of myth in some of those things of, no, don't go to a bank for this, or don't do this, or don't do whatever, right? And I think with this generation of folks, the internet generation that grew up with the internet and being able to access this information and the right information, the correct information at Nusenda Credit Union, right? Because it is a respected financial establishment, and they are giving you the right. They've vetted these financial tools, and this is the correct way of doing it. It makes you more financially healthy, right? And it's correct information. It's not based on myth, which I think is great. And I was just thinking about that when you were talking about that. This is amazing. If you are reaching kids at a young age in early grades, how could they not grow up and incorporate some of those practices in their lives when they become money holders and they open their first bank account and things like that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's great. Well, that's awesome, Sara. Sara Keller, the Chief Community Engagement Officer for Nusenda Credit Union. Thank you for coming on today. Just as a reminder, back to school supply giveaway on July 31st at Santa Fe High. Please check our social media, We'll be sending announcements out to folks as far as the times go. Also, make sure when you go out there to thank our title sponsor, Nusenda Credit Union, and the group out there. You'll see them wearing Nusenda Credit Union T-shirts. And then if you have any questions or something on the fly, you can maybe say, hey, I have a question I saw your podcast. I have a question. Is something you guys can answer? They may be able to answer it right there, or they'll give you some contact information on how to get a longer, more in-depth answer, right?
Absolutely. Yep. All of our team knows all about all the tools we've talked about today.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. And folks, thank you for watching us today and listening to us too. Have a great week. Have a safe week. Adios.